every week we do like short films, action films, visual effects.
Short film, half of them have guns and half of them don't have guns in them. You guys see the videos.
So yeah, so
we met.
We met at USC.
In 2004, we were on the same floor, and basically it was a cinema floor, and most people there wanted to make very like artsy, cinema student kind of videos. And Freddie and I were quite the opposite. We like doing big action, we loved action movies, we liked, like the big blockbusters of the summer, we like that kind of stuff. And we identified this quick, and so we immediately started, like working together, talking about like, oh, we gotta make an action scene. No one else here wants to make action, let's make an action scene. And that's the first video on the channel. So basically from there, throughout the rest of college, we sporadically made videos together, but we were pretty busy with that. And we always talked about, like starting like a YouTube channel, making the YouTube channel go with a very regular thing. And we never really committed to it, but we kept watching as people growed, and we followed people's, the trajectory. We put out videos to test different concepts, to test what would play online, and really like theorize about what would make things work. And so in 2010, we decided to say, all right, let's focus on YouTube. And we did that in February. We put out a video called Real Life Portal Gun, and that first 2 weeks we went nuts. Like we put out a video every like 3 days. It was not a pace that we could keep up with, but that's what we did. And we started, sending it around to various blogs, sites outside of YouTube, and trying to promote it. And that's been our last year and a half, more or less. So, post-release video strategy. That started with the very first video, which is, we had a sort of different approach to how we put a video out and try to find an audience, because then most of the common mentality in YouTube. Most of the common mentality was try to collaborate with other partners, try to look within YouTube, try to drive audience around. Our mentality was that YouTube is a very huge site, but it's a very small site compared to the entire internet. And so rather than looking to just within YouTube, we decided to look to the rest of the internet to try to drive traffic. And also YouTube, being a site that has a ton of content uploaded every day, is very difficult to penetrate, as I'm sure you guys have seen with content when you don't have a large audience that's going to push a large number of subscribers to push it up right away.
So the stuff that we, very, very early on, we said, all right, well, what's the kind of sites that would take a look at our stuff and be like, oh, this is cool, we'll post this up, right? Because a sort of small blog or a medium-sized blog posting about your stuff is still better than your Facebook page, which is just your friends looking at it, right? So, Real Life Portal Gun, Portal being a game, we're like, all right, let's look at game blogs, right? So let's look at Kotaku, which is one of the top game blogs. Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, think of the front page. The front page of any site is where you're going to generate the most traffic from that, because think of when you go to any site, what's the first place you go to? You go to the front page, you look at the feed of stories coming up. So YouTube has a very difficult front page to get on, the hardest front page to get on. Whereas other sites, as they cascade downwards, are easier and easier to get on the front page of, and hence they also get more and more specific in their content. So they've got smaller audiences, but they're much more focused. So, for example, there's for the Price is Right video we did, there's a Price is Right forum, which is basically the biggest Price is Right forum where everyone who loves Price is Right goes and posts and compares strategies. Not a whole lot of people, but a very dedicated audience. So we identified that forum, basically, as where we target our Price is Right video. So that anybody that was there that was interested in Price is Right-like content would go and check out our channel and hopefully subscribe. Same thing with all the video game related videos. We targeted Kotaku, which is a very major video game blog. Not blog, feed, what would you call it? Site. It's a blog. It's a blog, okay. And so we try to get it there, get on the front page of there, generate a lot less views than you do if you get on the front page of YouTube. However, enough views to start growing up. So if you're starting from nothing and trying to target the front page of YouTube, that's almost impossible. So instead, focus on smaller sites and work your way up. Basically, the way we did that is by contacting editors, talking to them, and sending them our videos.
Here's how blogs work. Right? If you're an editor for a blog, you have an assignment. You have to write X number of 100 words for an article on Tuesday at 4 o'clock, Wednesday at 1, or whatever it is. You have a week sort of schedules that you have to do. So you're spending the rest of your time digging around looking for what are you going to write about for your next post. So these guys are willing to check things out, that this is part of their job, So if you go to them, it just makes their lives that much easier. And if you go to them with a video that's cool, that fits in with their site, that fits in with what they put up, your odds are pretty good that they'll say, okay, cool, we can put this up, I got my next post out of the way, and you get the benefit, you're benefiting this guy, or the editor of the blog, because you're taking some work out of their hands, and you're benefiting the site, and you're getting the benefit of the exposure from that site that will give you. So, post-video release strategy, you use everything that you have. You have Facebook, you have a Twitter account, if you have a Facebook fan page, send that out to there. Look around for external sites that would fit with this type of content that you do. Now granted, not all content will necessarily have a blog that fits with it. Try your best to get into some internet communities, so to speak. There are sites like Reddit, there are sites like the Penny Arcade forums even, like places where people hang out and talk about stuff. Those are good places. A lot of them will have like post your video sub-forums. Those are good places to start. It's very difficult to be going directly on YouTube and only relying on YouTube's platform as a place of promotion. You're fighting with, as I say, 45 hours of video every day or every minute.
So basically, you don't start your career in politics by running for president. You start by
local
high
office.
School. Trying to be,
that's right, high school.
Class president. Then local office. Then statewide. You grew up.
I used to run campaigns for my friends at high school, president stuff.
Super cool.
It was super cool. Made posters, went to Kinko's, everything. So yeah, you start small.
I was playing sports. I didn't play any sports.
You didn't play any sports.
Which this kind of ties into the pre-release video strategy.
This is going to end poorly already.
We're going back and forth like dogs on leashes.
I'm going to just use this one.
Before we put any video out, we look at that video and we think, what is the dialogue for this video going to be? Where would this video appeal to? What audience, as we've already said, like where could this video possibly go and spread? And also, what are the people who watch this going to be talking about? And we found with YouTube that essentially to have a successful video, you have to be able to control the conversations around that video. And it seems like something that's going to be random, but it's actually something you can do by putting little things. Everyone looks and they try to latch on to little things they comment. Everyone thinks that when they notice something, they're the only person that's noticed it. But in reality, if you look at the comments, you know that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people are noticing the same things over and over and over again. And this happens naturally with videos. So what we like to do is try to look at the videos and figure out what those things are going to be in advance and see, are those things going to be positive for our videos or are they not going to be? And if they're not going to be, we try to create other things that will override those.
Yeah, so for example, and all this has to do with the fact that the video page on YouTube, the way the comments work, is it's pretty much pretty short-term memory, right? It only displays, what, up to the last 10, 15 comments at a time. So any given person who wants to say something and feel like they're a unique, beautiful snowflake, they're going to check down, they're going to scroll down, and see if anyone has said it yet. If they don't see it within the last 10 comments, like, great, I'm going to be the first one to say this, and then they're going to get in on that. And then, of course, 10 comments later, their comment gets cycled off of that front page. No one ever will be like, man, I really think Freddie's hair looks funny in this one. Better scroll back through 100 comments to see if anyone else, oh, someone already said it. I guess I'll just keep my mouth shut. No, nobody bothers with that, right? Behavior is like, it's too much effort. So there are, just by looking at it, just by sort of, I mean, here's a good practice for it. Take any video, when you're watching the video, and in your head write down, like, all right, what are the 5 things that I bet people are talking about in the comment section? And then scroll down and see if your predictions are right. And over time, you're going to develop.
I don't think we have the internet.
Huh?
I don't think we have the internet.
I don't think we have the internet either.
We don't.
We don't. Absolutely confirmed. Okay.
Internet, no internet confirmed. But anyway, after a certain amount of time, you're going to realize, like, oh, okay, I can pretty accurately predict what the conversation is going to be on any given video that I watch. This is a very good thing to have. It's a very good power to have, because you see that when you're making your own videos, you'll be able to say, all right, I don't want to say it like this, I don't want to shoot it like this, I don't want to include this part, because I know that, from my experience, this is going to result in just nothing but sort of negativity around that. It's just going to surround that. So how can I sort of direct the conversation for it? And part of it is just sort of looking at it and being like, all right, well, what are people going to latch onto, and how can I make sure that that's sort of what the overall discourse is going to be?
Let's pull up an example of one that we screwed up on.
Yes. Which one was it? Thanksception.
It was Thanksception.
Last Thanksgiving.
Last Thanksgiving, the video that we made was basically, the idea was that Freddie and I were dressed in pilgrim costumes, and we mimicked the scene in Inception where, DiCaprio and...
The scene from the trailer, so you didn't have to see
the scene from the trailer. We figured everybody'd seen this scene.
Do the
sitting
music.
there.
We sit there, and then we have a Thanksgiving feast behind us, and then we would like blow it up, right, like in the
Great video, right? Great video.
So far, this seems like a golden idea. Brandon and I said, like, this is gonna be great. We're gonna go pilgrim costumes. We're gonna stand there, and it's just gonna be like the scene in the movie with stuff that's gonna fly
Except for
everywhere.
Inception, they did it using VFX. They had something like that, but we were gonna do it for real.
Which is even cooler.
Long story short, I've got a background in pyrotechnics, done stuff for real movies, so we're gonna blow up a bunch of little things and have food blow all over the place.
So far, so cool.
Yep.
We sit down, we said, what are we gonna call it? Thanksception, right? It's Inception, Thanksgiving, together. We had two possible titles. Inceptionsgiving or Thanksception. So we went for
Two choices.
So far, so
Do we
good.
have the video here? Can you pull that?
We could pull it up.
Yeah.
So we shot
I
it.
stay up all night long, as we often do.
And I write the music for it, and I try and mimic Hans Zimmer as best as I can.
Yeah, Freddie was going home for Thanksgiving, so he wrote the music right before he got on a plane. I was finishing up editing it, the effect, getting it all put together right before. I'm up all night long, super excited about it, laughing all by myself in the room. And go to upload it.
Hold on.
Now YouTube, when we upload a video, we'll put it on private when we start, because we'll put it on there, we'll get all the annotations on there, wait for it to go from 240p to 360, it takes about 5 minutes. This is a good thing to do if you don't want people to complain about the quality of the video. And then put it on. However, there's always a little window where it goes live. And the interesting thing I found about this is you'll always get about 100 viewers in that time, whatever, if you're, it depends on what volume you're at. But get 100 viewers and we'll get 10 comments.
It's on our older drive.
It's our older drive, we don't have it? Okay. Anyways, we'll get about 10 comments in that time. And the interesting thing I find is if you get those 10 comments, and you take what those are, and you extrapolate that, and you take out all the ones that say first, which is about 5 bumps. Of those 5 comments, the ones remaining will be basically a sample of exactly what the video's conversation is going to be after 5,000 comments, after 10,000 comments. It's amazing how small the sample you need to know how people are.
So if you had to guess, right now, what do you think that the comments were on this one?
First.
No, I mean, like, after the
Wasted food.
wasted food. What
Yes.
else? What else?
No shoes.
No shoes.
They didn't know what Inception was.
They didn't know Inception was. Yeah.
So the two things that we found. Inception, by the way, Nolan's most successful movie.
Yeah. No.
Nobody got, huh? Dark Knight still? Anyway, so that was the two things that we got. You guys wasted food, which, I mean, barring a long discussion of economics aside, is, one of the things that people were latching onto, and nobody actually got what we were referencing, despite the music, despite the title. It was too foreign to it. So, that was an example where we screwed up. We didn't really predict it as well as we could have.
So basically, hit public on the video, it's going out, we're getting more and more of this. It's one of our least popular videos. So rather than take that bullet, we try to come up with ways to quickly change that conversation and post. Now, usually you want to do this, it's much easier to do before you release the video, but afterwards, we're trying to come up with ways to do it. So
very quickly, I was like, all right, well, hold on, how much did we spend on the food? We spent about $200. I made a charitable donation for that amount to a charity that does basically, instead of, they basically send like farm animals to developing countries, and the idea being that, like, well, yeah, you can kill a cow and eat it, but it doesn't help you as having a cow because, livestock is important, et cetera, et cetera. It's a very good charity, the Heifer Foundation. We made that donation and quickly sort of let everybody know, oh, by the way, all right, we did spend a lot of money, we did blow some food up here. We're also making a charitable donation on top of that.
basically added an annotation saying that, and from doing that one thing alone, the thumbs up to thumbs down ratio went up by about 10%. So basically, very little things you can do to try to control the conversation, turn it around. So yeah, let's do a new topic.
New topic. We'll be always kind of coming back and around on all this stuff. So After Effects, shadows and lighting. Pick one that you can talk about here, and I'm gonna queue up some After Effects stuff here.
Quick VFX talk?
VFX talk?
All right, VFX. The key to realistically in VFX is you have to mimic what it would look like if it actually happened in real life.
But not real life, movie reality.
Movie real life, because the real life that you're used to seeing on screen is what has been interpreted by filmmakers, the techniques that they use. So, real life, if you got shot by a bullet, there'd be a little, hole show up, a little cloud of,
nothing would happen.
But it's not very visual. In movies, when you get shot, there is a little spark, a puff of smoke, a cloud of blood, and a liquid that comes out. And that's because that's the way they make squibs. So your goal when making someone look like they got shot is not to make it look like real life, but to make it look like movie real life. Same thing like explosions. Real life an explosion, big, you know, dust cloud, big like forest, things get knocked down. But in movies, they can't make explosions like that because people get hurt. So instead, they have lifters, which basically blow gas in the air and makes a big fireball and burns out, and it's pretty unimpactful. So when you're making explosions, you have to think of that. But in order to make, so with that in mind, that's what your final look is. Your reference footage should not be real life, should not be real guns going off, it should be guns going off in a movie. And now, in order to make something look like it's real like that, you basically have to think of what's happening. If it's happening in real life, it's doing what it would do in real life, which is basically either obscure light or create light. And then that light is going into your camera, so it has to be designed to react the same way when it goes into your camera, and then finally going out to your sensor, whatever, making your image. So for shadows, basically you need to look at the direction of the sun, the occluded area. Oh, Freddie, you can do this right now. This is an example of something that creates light. It will be a muzzle flash, right? So a muzzle flash is a light source in the scene. If you just slap a muzzle flash into that, which you can find by just doing a Google image.
This is what 90% of YouTube videos look like. Ready?
Here it comes.
Boy, wicked.
You can find a muzzle. Bang.
Something looks, it's only one frame. Most YouTube videos for some reason decide to do 2 frames on it.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Something seems wrong here, folks. I don't know, it doesn't seem right. We can make it better.
So, first thing you have to think of, if it was happening in real life, this is a light source. This is a light source that's going on the scene and illuminating. So, by having it just composite in there and layered in there, you're not getting a realistic thing. And the way light works is when you add something in there, it's basically screens on top of the pixels get added on. So nothing can be darker than the pixels that was before behind it in the first place.
So remember, this is, you look at a gun flare, for example, right? This is a giant flame. And if you try taking pictures of like matches or even just like lighters, it blows out right away. Your camera's not sensitive enough to get that. So we're gonna set this to screen mode right away.
Screen mode, basically, now it might not look as good right on that frame, however, it's more physically accurate to what light would actually do, is because the light is additive, so no pixel in there can be darker than what it was before.
So smoke on there, favorite.
Smoke, this is our favorite smoke thing. We've used this since 1999, I think. This footage was recorded in 1999, and we've used it ever since. We've used it about 20,000 times. And it's the only one that we use. Well, there's 3. There's 3 options. There's Smoker 15, 16, and 17. You can find these if you go on, NCC Cinema. They have a pack where you can download it, and basically it's been out there for 10 years. And that's the exact same one we use. And many people have tried and failed to do a better job, but no one succeeded.
Something's still a little bit off with this, and something that the first step we should do is we should always address camera motion. So if you're on a tripod, you don't have to worry about this. But the first thing we do is we track our motion, and we try and figure out what the way the camera's going. Because if the camera's going to pan left, we need to pretend like these elements that we're putting into the scene are also into the scene. They need to move with the camera as well. So the first thing we do is track rotation and position, because we're not zooming in. In general, so this is sort of getting into the motion tracking. The way that After Effects Motion Tracker works is this, right? There's a big box and the smaller box. The bigger box is the area between frames that it searches. The smaller box is the actual pattern of pixels that it's looking for. So you're looking for hard edges, angles, things like that. So,
and things that are moving the scene in the same way that the object you're trying to track there is moving. So since the smoke is moving, the camera's wiggling, we need it to match what it looked like if that would actually happen, which would be wiggling along with the background.
So that point over there looks pretty good. And I like this outlet over here, this little smiley face. Let's see what happens. I think he may cross it. So now we're going to go ahead and go for it. Just going to analyze the motion of it. He does cross it. Oops. Let's pick a better one. I'll pick one out of here.
Got it.
Nailed it. And then we're going to go down here too.
Analyze.
Nice. Analyze this. So there's a very little, you avoid this step if you're on a tripod. Oh, close. That was close.
A lot of sweating, a lot of stress in big effects.
Okay. Whew.
Take that motion, you apply it to a null object. That null object is what you're going to parent everything else to in the scene. Basically, once instead of tracking it over and over again for every single element you're putting there, just make one and attach everything else to that one.
Applying it to this null object. So now this null object, you see this red box, it's basically just a set of position data, right? So as you can see, it looks like it's kind of stuck onto that wall there, right? Mission accomplished. All right, so that means now once we have that stuck on there, we can now apply the parenting to that null object. So now, it's a very subtle effect, but that smoke now is now moving like the camera is moving. So it's blending into the scene a little bit better. Are we done yet? Brandon, are we done yet?
We're not done yet.
I don't know, it seems pretty done to me.
We have two more important things missing. Since we're inside of a room, we're not outdoors. Outside is really bright. Indoors is pretty dim, relatively. So when you're inside, that flash, that fire that went on there would actually illuminate his face, would illuminate the environment around it. So we need to simulate that in the computer because that's exactly what happened in real life. And the way we do that is we double the layer from below, the source footage. Double that, set it to add mode. And what that does is basically adds all the values together, which makes it super bright. But that's not correct because basically whatever's closest to the fire would be what gets illuminated the most. So you have to mask out on that layer.
So real quick, this is actually what you see a lot too, which is just a single frame, bang, flash, which is too excessive. So you have to ask yourself, all right, this is a giant flame, this is a giant light source in the middle of the room. What is it affecting specifically? And how is it affecting it? So this wall, he's shooting over this wall, correct? So that's one part of it. I'm gonna go rough here, because we gotta go fast. This gets into speed. Basically, you have to figure when you're putting stuff on YouTube, your people are generally not going to be able to frame by frame your work, and so if you're doing VFX, it's okay to be a little sloppier than you would be if you're having to go through approvals. Because if you're basically taking a freelance VFX gig, you're going to have someone going through it frame by frame and looking for it, even though that's excessive analyzing. But basically, they feel like they're paying for it, so they're going to look at it. However, when you're making your own work and you're working for yourself, you get to decide when it's done. So, and our measure for when it's done is if you can show it basically in full motion. We never look at things frame by frame. Look at it full motion, go through it. If it looks right, then you're good to go. And keep in mind, if you watch it 50 times, you might be able to pick things out, but in the context of the sequence, if it looks right, it's good to go. So if you went frame by frame through our videos, you find a lot of little mistakes, little errors here and there. However, the key is that it's the final product is what turns out, what the viewer perceives when they watch it. That seems to me, these areas would be what would get illuminated by this thing here. So let's take a look on and off, without, and on. So this is very rough, you know, there's a little bit dirty around his head there, but not bad. So let's take a look now.
Too much on the wall.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Let me fit this, it's a little too small. All right. Whoa, what's going on that wall? So that first mask, what's nice about this is when you do the masks like this, you can also, with each individual mask, change the opacity of that. So the wall, let's bring it down to like there.
Nice. Oh, can't watch it because it's got that good see, but still too little bit of motion on the wall, but who cares?
Who cares? More
all right. Now, second thing, last step, and there's a fine little touch, is basically when real world, when something's more bright than your eye can perceive, when it's super white, when it goes above it, you get a little bloom effect, basically. Your eye blows out. So the way that you perceive brightness is not just from 0 to 1, which is like from black to white, but you also have like a super white sensor, which is when things start to blow out a little bit. And so we need to mimic that as well, and the way we do that is by doubling the muzzle flare there and blurring it, and that basically creates that little bloom effect, and that'll cause you, as a viewer, even though it's no brighter than it was before, which is 1, by surrounding by pixels that are a little brighter, you get like the super white effect.
See that? See how it's brighter, brighter. So this is without the blur, without any bloom, and give it a little bit there. Very subtle effect, but adds a lot of emphasis to it. So now, I would say, with everything tracked in, we have motion tracking, we have a flare, we have the light, the environment. That's pretty good.
So that's what we do for things that cast light. Things that block light, which create shadows, basically you have to look at, there's 2 types of shadows that things cause. They cause direct shadows, which is direct sunlight, it's the shadow you see, and there's also something called ambient occlusion, which is basically the act of something blocking the rest of the environment from it, therefore you get like, you know, like how you kind of, let me see if I can give a good example. If you look at a car on the freeway and the sun's down really low, so it's creating the shadow over there, but you still have the light that's kind of below the car, and that's because it's obscuring the sky from it, basically, which is a blue light. And so the two shadows you need to create are, one, a direct shadow, which is basically do that often by just doubling the layer, converting to 3D, flopping it over, and setting it to subtract. You basically get like the dark shadow from it. And the other way that we do it is by, and then the other type of shadow is a very blurry, fine thing called ambient occlusion. If you want to learn more about that, just do a Google search for ambient occlusion. And that's like a kind of fuzzy, very blurred shadow beneath it. And those two things will make your things look real. Basically, that by blending those two things in.
It's a good story. Michael Bay invented ambient occlusion.
Yeah, people hate on Michael Bay, but he invented ambient occlusion. He was the first one who basically, ILM was working on Pearl Harbor, and they showed him some shots, and like, we think this looks great. And he looks at him and says, that looks like shit.
This looks horrible.
He says, they're like, what do you mean? This is our,
you know that we are,
this is the best we've ever done.
Michael, you know that we are the best, right?
He says, I don't know what it is, but if you take a real thing, it's got like kind of like a shadow, it creates a little more depth in there, and basically told them, they kind of fixed these and said, you know what, you're right, we've kind of known that was kind of like that for a while, and he's like, well, for my movie, you have to make it happen, I don't care how you do it, but you have to make it happen. So they basically came up with ambient occlusion.
Alright, so where were we here? Effects workflow. So here's how the workflow goes for any one of our videos. We will, let's pull up Capos.
First, of course, you shoot it. First, actually, you come up with the idea. Freddie and I, in particular, we come up, people have a lot of different ways to come up with ideas. We find that our tips, we get asked that a lot, how do you come up with ideas? Basically, the best advice we can give you is that you have to be, ideas, like people like to talk about that, I went and I tripped, I fell over, I hit my head, and then the idea came to me. Ideas just popped in my head, it came to me. And if you spend all your time waiting around for that to happen, it never will happen.
Or running into walls, which you shouldn't be doing.
I'm sure many of you guys experience that. So what we find is that you need to spend time on a daily basis. You need to make it part of your routine, is trying to think creatively, trying to come up with things. So if you spend, and the way we do it is try to find time in your schedule where your mind is usually idle, like driving, showering, whatever. So my personal place is the shower and the car. So shower is something people have watched. You've done that 100 times, 1,000. I've done it only 100 times. But spend the time thinking creatively. Think, what would I want to see? What would I like to do? Just try to brainstorm. Just try to come up with things. When you get out, jot it down and come up with it. And what you'll find is that it's not very effective at the time. When you start doing that, you won't come up with anything that innovative. If you do, you're lucky. However, by putting this as part of your routine, by doing this on a daily basis, and trying to work at least a half hour, an hour into your day before you're falling asleep, whenever we're thinking about this, you'll find that suddenly ideas will start to dawn upon you.
Yeah, ideation, yeah, exactly. Ideation is a skill. It's not something that you're either born with or anything. It's just like anything else, you have to practice at it. And the ways you're practicing at it is things like, brainstorming, even weird things. Keep a dream journal. Write down everything that's coming into your head. You can get rid of the stuff that you think is terrible later, but the problem is a lot of people will self-censor early on with when they're trying to come up with ideas. They're like, I can't come up with an idea. This idea is terrible. This idea is terrible. You're cutting yourself off before you come up with something good, right? So you have to let yourself come up with the terrible ideas, because if you're putting a filter beforehand saying like, all right, these are good ideas, these are bad ideas, you're not going to let yourself come up with the good ones, because the whole time you're going to be so into just being like, oh, this is a bad one, this is a bad one.
And also keep in mind that there are no original ideas. There's only new and original ways to combine existing ideas. So everything you see, and that's what people kind of refer to as postmodernism, which is basically, there's not a single thing you can look at and say, this is original because it's taking this and this and this from it, but by doing that, they become original and new works.
Okay.
So put it as part of your routine. So once we come up with ideas, we shoot them. We've never really shot more than a day on anything. It's usually 6 hours, 4 hours, something like that. Film the whole video, import it, get the clips on our computer, and first step is to edit it.
So the first step is to make sure your edit is good. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn off the effects layer. So this is just the raw edit from. So it's a little choppy because we're on my hard drive, but so you'll notice listening sounds horrible. There's cuts in the sound. You also, for example, this first shot, it's shaky. Don't like that. We're going to deal with that later. Let's get into the actual, when the action starts here.
Looks pretty crappy, right?
You can hear us yelling camera fans. You can hear me yelling at Brandon if you listen to this. Actually, you know what? This is actually going to be fun. This is Brandon's angle. Let's hear what I say to you, right? Day of shooting.
Go. That's it. Good.
That was easy. Done. So you can hear, it doesn't sound right, you can hear a camera, us yelling out stuff. It's rough, but this is the editing. So the idea is that what's visually on there is what we're going to keep. We're going to lock the picture. So when we're done with this, we go through the whole video and we cut it together, and there are no visual effects in here. So, for example, he's reacting to nothing, nothing's happening here. Brandon's just shaking the gun. Same thing. And also all the wrist gun stuff here, nothing. I'm just staring at it. There's nothing there.
Shocking, I know, right?
So raw here, you can see that we've got cable pulling this guy, cable pulling this guy. In fact, there's a little tiny camera there that's getting another angle. In fact, there's, oh, who's that? That's Brandon. Brandon, you're not supposed to be holding a camera. This is a movie.
Don't worry, we do VFX. We're going to take care of that later.
All right. All right, so and then also, you know, so this shot here, right? Here we go, ready? I run up and punch a guy. Oh boy, this doesn't look right at all, Brandon. I don't know if this
No one's going to do that one.
No one's good. We're gonna get so many negative comments about this orange crane in the shot. So, we get the video edit done. And once we get that done, we know which shots need effects. So for example, this is a shot that's marked for semi-truck coming in. This is a shot marked for semi-truck pulling off the side. And we double-click it and export each of these shots individually.
So we get a new video file with
so we have a whole
shots.
new folder of 4 VFX, these individual shots. And then, once we get all the visual effects shots out and ready to go, we start working on them. And then as we work on them, you can see we have a second layer here, right? As we're working on them, we're adding in, we're putting them on top.
The buildings.
So the buildings are gone there in that shot, right? Let's see what we do here. There's a building in the background that we're painting out, and the truck is in there now, right? So we have, if you look at our timeline now, 2 layers. Our base layer, that's the picture lock, and our top layer, which is all the visual effects shots that were in this one. Everything from...
This is the easiest way to keep track of what you have done and what you have to still to do, and also lets you go back and forth and reference them. Rather than replacing the clips, have a whole new layer that is just for the VFX shots that are coming in.
Yeah. So here, and this is, by the way, when we say visual effects shots, that's everything from, all right, let's stabilize this camera for this first shot. That's a visual effect. Anything that we're doing to modify the shot counts as a visual effect. So, on the other side of it is sound, right? You have picture and you have sound. The picture's set and locked, so now we can start working on sound effects. We do sound in Pro Tools. Unfortunately, I don't have a little dongle, so I can't show you that project. But the idea is that we pull it in and we take all the sound effects and we just start layering them in. And I can start working on this stuff while Brandon's starting to work on the visual effects because every cut is set and it's locked. Nothing's going to be changing from here on out. We may make very minor changes as it goes on, but we find that it's really good to get to the discipline of saying when you lock picture is locked, period. That way you commit yourself to your edit. You're not like, basically it's a little bit like when they recorded Sgt. Pepper, right? When they committed to tape for various, when the Beatles committed, various takes to tape, it was like you can't go back and just like, oh, I didn't like that, let's change it. The creative decisions that they made throughout the process force them to stay with it and follow along with it throughout the whole thing. So when you say picture lock, it's picture lock. That forces you when you're editing to say, all right, this is the edit, this is how I like it, and I'm going to go with this, period. And I have to commit. And that committing is, action leads to more stuff getting done. So we do the sound effects, and the sound effects basically comes back out when we're done as a giant single file. And this is the waveform for it. And it's all the sound edited and put in, and it's with the music. So real quick, actually, this will be fun. How does sound affect the picture? Here, we're gonna watch this. We're gonna watch the very first sequence here, where I get my head bounced into the wall, or bounced into a bottle a couple times here. This is the original sound. Let's take a look. That's okay, I guess. Let's watch this now with the final sound. So these are sound effects, everything else is in there. Punch, everything. So the impacts are much stronger. There's more glass. The glass, for example, sound effects, real quick, just to go over this. Sound effects in movies is all hyper real. Sound doesn't actually sound like that. When someone punches somebody, it's a lame sound. If you've ever seen a fight, it's kind of just like, oh, that's it? Because in movies, it's jaw-shattering, bone-cracking punches here. So let's get this glass bottle break, okay? This is what it sounded like day of, right?
I don't know how many get punched in the face, but when you see someone get punched in the face, the sound's not very impressive. But when you feel getting punched in the face, you remember it as sounding pretty loud. So that's the sound you're trying to mimic, is because you want the audience to feel it.
Right. So for this glass bottle break, right, it's not just, so that's the sound of my hitting the table itself. There's way more glass. If you listen to that sound, if you actually kind of like feel it out, it actually sounds like pretty much three giant windows of glass like falling. It's not just a little bottle, right? You're adding glass to it. You're adding a punch to it. You're adding everything to it. That's the sort of philosophy behind sound design that we have, which is sound is a very subjective thing. So if you are trying to go for a realistic sounding piece, that's one direction we go. We like to go for a more subjective sounding thing. So everything's bigger than life. Everything's huge. A gunshot's not just one sound effect. And the way you get this is basically layering sound effects. So instead of just doing one sound effect at a time, instead of doing just a gunshot, it'll be a gunshot plus a hand slap, plus a cannon going off, plus thunder. It'll be 4 or 5 different things going for a single gunshot. And that's how you
One of those common complaints we hear is people saying that my sound effects library is no good. It's all the sounds sound weak. They're not good. I want to do a face punch, like a face punch from there.
The funny thing is, we say our sound effects library sounds bad too.
Every sound effects library sounds like this because they're not trying to give you completed sound effects for something. They're trying to give you building blocks. They're trying to give you pieces that you can construct together to create your own sound effects. Otherwise, every single person had the exact same sounding gun, the exact same sounding punch, the exact same sounding, and it would get really repetitive. That's what old martial arts movies sounded like.
Yeah. Here we go. Let's listen to some punches. That's it. This is a punch.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what our punches sound like too.
Perfect. We're done. No. We layer that. You layer that with way more. So anyway, that's sort of how we approach sound design. A question real quick.
Just real quick, where'd you get the bottle to break?
The bottles to break, Universal's kind enough to provide it. You can buy them online too. They're about 20, 30 bucks a pop for basically movie bottles.
Sugar, right?
They used to be only sugar. It's a weird composite now. It's a whole mix.
Just like everything else, they come up with weird, chemistry, weird new materials. Freddie and I both like idiots. This is our first time working with sugar bottles. We're like, as soon as we broke it, we're like, oh, this sugar bottle's right. The guy's like, yeah. And so we both grab a piece, we put it in our mouth.
This tastes horrible.
So luckily, John Favreau had not shown up yet, so he didn't get to see that display of amateurism.
Post-upload promotion, we kind of covered motion tracking.
We had early on someone asked about how to work faster, and we kind of had a good example of that when we were watching the Cowboys and Aliens thing right there. Is that by understanding VFX, we find that helps us shoot things faster, and by understanding how to shoot things for VFX, we're able to do VFX faster. So basically, you get benefits on both ends. Because as you saw, instead of doing multiple takes of the guy getting dragged back, we're able to shoot once, having cameramen in the shot and not worry about that because we knew that was something we'd take care of. Now, we also sped it up in post-production by choosing angles and choosing camera moves that basically made it easy to paint those guys out. Rather than having the camera running around and rather than having, because we knew the guys would go back and there's going to be dust. So rather than putting the camera somewhere where the dust was going to wipe over the frame, we put the cameras where we knew it would be easy to paint out. And instead of running around with the camera, we kept it stationary and notably panning so we knew it would be easy to paint out the background.
And I wish there was an easy way, and I wish there was a book that could teach you how to do that, but the only way to do that is making a lot of mistakes, as we have, and being like, you know what, next time we shoot a shot like this, let's do the camera like this, let's not move it around, let's do this, let's change this. And that's how you learn it. So you have to learn by experience, because you can read about it all day, but it's not going to actually teach you anything.
Is on the day of, if you're shooting fast, you need to have it in your head as you're going. There's things like if you want an out of focus plant in the foreground of your shot with your CG alien back there, You need to know that it's going to be easier to add a plant, track it in there, and then make it out of focus in post than it is to try to roto that out of focus plant and try to get it behind there. So you get rid of that, strip down those layers, probably the foreground, and add that in later. Good question.
How do you export individual clips to move elements?
Not sure about Premiere Elements. Usually you do two ways. You either double click the clip and it'll pull it up into here and then exporting will go, or you can set like in point and out point and then export just that.
Yeah, the same way you set the in points and out points to export the entire video.
Cool.
Yes.
I know in Premiere Pro, since they're both Adobe, you can just copy and paste like from Premiere Pro.
That's right. Yeah, you can also just round trip really easily with those.
Is that stable though?
Huh?
That's stable.
They've gotten pretty good with that. I would say in Elements, I'd be a little more careful. I'd do it the old school way, but with Pro, you're probably pretty good with that.
With your compositing, when do you do your color correct?
Color correction.
Color correction is the last step. Basically, once all of the effects are done, we'll take that sequence and once again, basically at that point, we will flatten down and replace all the non-VFX shots with the VFX shots. Export that to Color is the program that we use, but there's lots of software for color correction, and then do that and render it out and put that on top. So that's basically our last step.
If you don't have color, one of the pieces of software that we actually kind of like, let's just really quickly do a shot here. All right, this is a cool shot. We have, we recommend for very quick sort of color correction stuff, Magic Bullet Looks, which is essentially a color correcting program, but it lets you do
it's meant
really
to be faster.
Quick, yeah, it lets you do really quick stuff. So here we go. We can say, all right, this is one look for it, and here's another look. It's kind of cool. And you can go crazy though. All right, here we go. Now a lot of these looks are really intense, and they're too much for what you're usually looking for. You know, so like let's say, oh yeah, right. So this is a pretty good program.
That was the look we used for Arcade Dominator.
Yeah, some of the it depends on what you're going for. So here, this is kind of like their World War II look. This is not bad, you know. So you can go around and play with it. There's tutorials online, but that's a pretty good program for a very quick, cool-looking color correct.
Yeah, the theory we apply to get the most out of your camera is basically you get a camera that has histograms ideally, so you can actually see where your data is coming in, and shoot to try to get as much data as possible. Because if you shoot in a way where things are overexposed or underexposed, you will never be able to get that data back. So shoot with getting as much in there as possible, regardless of how it looks. And then knowing that you're doing post, in post you basically pull it around. So basically we'll stretch out the whites, get the whites back on top of the whites, pull the blacks down and come back where we are, and we'll boost the mids up to try to reduce the range between the shadows and the highlights. Basically make it look like we have a nicer camera than we do.
Want to know how you get the Julian Smith effect?
Oh yeah, you guys have seen Julian Smith's videos? You want to know how he
Stuff
does
looks
it?
great, right? Here's the trick. The trick is the black levels, and there's a lot to it. Light it well, of course, but black levels and the widescreen, because essentially your eye can only reference the way your eye looks at colors, it references other bits of color for it. So if you set this to be black, right, the widescreen matte bars are black here. If you make sure in your color correct that you bring your black levels up higher than they should be, so here for example, no, it's not a good scope for it, but so I'm at the very last step here, in three-way color correct, let's do the same thing. So a proper sort of black level would probably be like what, right around here, right? So if we bring it up artificially, so it's like, it looks actually milked out, it doesn't look so hot right here, right? But once you put it in context with the black bars on top there, all of a sudden it looks more movie-like. Because
basically by putting a reference black, which is 0, right next to black, which has been boosted up, you get the cinematic look. Because when you're in the theater and there's a projector going on, there's no way for that screen to ever be completely black. However, the black curtains around it are black. So basically, you're simulating that by putting black curtains around your video, just like a movie theater, and then boosting up the black levels a little bit so that it looks like a projected movie. That's how you get that effect. Yeah.
Have you ever worked with let's see, it's Final Cut Pro and Adobe, and can you compare and contrast the two?
We've used with both. Our opinion is that software is just a tool to be used. They've got different tools in them, but really it's a hammer and a hammer at the end of the day. Any editing program you can edit with, any compositing program you can composite with, it's just different tool sets within that program. So they both,
yeah,
so if it's any good,
yeah,
it should be all.
They're all good as much in terms of editing software. So whichever one you're more comfortable with, just stick with that. It'll be totally fine.
Existing for a while.
Music. I know that you said you compose your own music. So I was wondering what software you guys use and how you go about deciding what music you use.
So music-wise, we got. So by the way, we are. I think we have hit the end of our time here. But we're just gonna keep on going until they kick us out or until everybody leaves. So if you don't mind. Music, we use Logic. I use Logic. There is Apple's basically throw in composing program. I know people use GarageBand. GarageBand works too. As far as what to do, a lot of times you're watching it, and you're thinking, okay. So watching this, it's like, all right. Do we want music at the beginning here? It might be maybe a little bit of background music, something like that. It's watching through it and thinking, okay, in your head, what do you want to hear? And then those are the points when you want music to go in there. Logic and I use a lot of native instruments, like software packages for sound libraries, things like that. But everything built into Logic and GarageBand, you can make really cool sounding stuff out of either of those.
You make the notes first, and then you like put those into the software, or?
Yeah, well, that's just that's just music production. There's I'm sure. It's one of those things where you're playing it, and then you have a keyboard and picking the instruments, and then going out and building from there.
So you don't use like the loops, you just make the...
No, you can. You definitely can use the loops, and there's definitely times when the loops help. But if you build everything around the loops, it sounds like a loop-based thing. Yeah. So I will use loops, and you'll hear some of the drum loops in there, but they're not the whole end all be all for. Like for example, in this one, the drum track that happens after the action scene starts is a loop, but there's the stuff on top of that that I play guitar over.
When did you guys decide, or what was the process on deciding to appear in your own videos?
Necessity.
Yeah, I mean, when we first started out, obviously there was no audience, there was nobody watching it, so no one was really willing to commit that much time to coming and being in it. So it was just Freddie and I basically making the videos. As time went on, as the audience grew, obviously there was a lot more people volunteering to be in things, but we'd already set up that pattern, and that's what the audience come to expect. So we stuck with it for the most part.
Can we volunteer now?
Sure. I will say though, our production schedule works like this. Brent, I have an idea for something. Let's go shoot it, and we're shooting it. So the easiest way is living with us, I guess, is to get into it, right?
Yeah, usually the people that are in it is whoever is closest, and the people who are taking the falls in it is whoever basically is walking out the street at the time.
There literally is. I mean, one of the guys from the Mr. Toots video that we did, the guy that gets shot by the unicorn and explodes, literally was like on the way out. Like his friend San Diego's and like getting in his car, and we're like, wait, stand over there.
There he's in the video, so it's proximity.
What kind of budget do you guys use for? I mean, I see a crane and like the wires and cables pulling people. Like, where do you get
Budget varies greatly on project by project basis. For the most part, our budgets are next to nothing, but that comes with a little asterisk because the next to nothing includes Freddie and I volunteering our time for free, basically, which is, but obviously we get the profits on the other end of it, so that's okay. But so in the budget, you write zero, but obviously if someone else was to hire us, the budget would not be zero for that. So so you say next to nothing, but that's not counting paying anybody for their time.
So let's see here. We got one Toys R Us lightsaber, $15. That's all his clothes, So you can go through it, and it's pretty. A lot of the times, the physical, actual production for stuff, very cheap.
Now, for something like our last video with Cowboys and Aliens, that was promotional for Cowboys and Aliens, so Universal was stepping in and either paying for or providing everything. So I couldn't tell you how much that stuff would have cost because we basically gave them a list of
stuff we wanted. And I don't know how much they needed to put dirt all over the road. I don't actually know how much that costs. I'm sure it costs something, but
Do you guys storyboard?
Storyboarding and all that stuff. We find that storyboarding is helpful if you're starting off, but we personally don't. A lot of times because we shoot in chronological order. So if you're jumping all over the place, you're shooting something here and you're shooting this and you're going to add them all together, storyboarding shot lists help. But we like doing, just kind of keeping everything in our heads because we're faster. We find it's faster, we never really miss anything. In general, if you're rolling and you're shooting, there's always footage to make the edit work.
And also because we've done 70 of these in the last year and a half. When we first started out, storyboarding was much more common. But at this point, since they're generally shorter and generally we do them in, we shoot them pretty linearly, it's pretty easy to keep track in our heads. So At this point, we rarely storyboard, and rarely we don't really shot this. We kind of come up with a general little outline for the video. We'll go to the location, Freddie and I will walk around, and we'll just kind of talk through, like, okay, we're going to be here, and we kind of mime it. And then once we get it straight in our head, we kind of know the lines, and we know where things are going to be, we just know how to shoot it.
Two things we do though, if it's a really complex shot, we will kind of draw it out. Like for, let's see, like for, I don't have, yeah, if it's a complex shot, we'll draw it out. Otherwise, we will, otherwise we'll also, if it's a really complex action scene, we'll just take a camera and just roughly shoot the angles that we're thinking of.
Yeah, people always complain they don't know how to draw. We'll just take a couple friends. We don't know how to draw either, so we'll just take a couple friends and basically just kind of act it out with finger guns the night before and kind of put it there and edit it together super fast, super rough, just to kind of get in your head the pieces that you need. Yeah.
I guess, how do you deal with it as far as firearms on location? And another question is, I just forgot. Just answer that.
Firearms on location, well, if you're inside, no problem. If you're outside, make sure your neighbors know what you're doing. You do not want LAPD or SWAT coming and checking out your shoot. Is the last thing you want.
Yeah, we commonly shoot in pretty much a similar area, so we know everybody that lives on the street. We know all the neighbors. They all watch our videos. They all know what we're doing, and so they're just kind of excited to see, like, oh, they're kind of guessing what it's going to be this week, and so they don't call us. And also we live on a dead end street, so since this is getting into particulars of it, but LAPD doesn't, they don't actually employ anybody to go on, to just drive the beats. No one walks beats, no one drives beats. They only go out on calls and come back on calls. So since we live on a dead end street, LAPD will literally never be on our street if somebody doesn't call them. So since we know no one's gonna call them, we know that LAPD will never.
If you're in a small town or something, let people know, let the local law enforcement know.
Yeah, and it's okay to call the police. It's okay to call the fire department. It's okay.
They're there for you.
Tell them what you're doing. You tell them, hey, I'm shooting a little action scene right here. So just, I've told all my neighbors, I've done things, I put some signs up, and we got some fake, we got some fake guns we spray paint black from Walmart, whatever, and we're gonna be shooting them. So if you guys get any calls, here's my number. Don't be too alarmed. It's probably, if it's on the streets, probably me. And usually we've gotten, in small towns, we've gotten a very good response from that. And really also it's just, if you're shooting with a gun and you're on the street, we try to always also have a camera be equally or more visible than that gun. So if anyone sees that gun, they can't help but see someone with the camera. Because odds are, if they see people that are around that aren't afraid of it, that aren't running and diving, then obviously...
Also, who are you more likely to call the cops on, right? Let's say this is a weapon, right? This guy? Or this guy?
Yeah, we do a lot of waving, a lot of saying hi, a lot of like...
The car comes by, and everybody all of a sudden freaks out and tries to hide. Most people see that and they're like, someone's up to no good. But if you're out in the open with it, you have your camera out there, you're smiling, you're waving, that people aren't going to think, okay, these guys are terrorists. Like, oh, okay. Oh, there's a camera. They're going to see it for what it really is. More likely to,
All right, you showed us the rough cut you did with all the sound, like the regular sound and how it was all, like there was none of the audio that you edited yet or anything?
Right.
So how do you get rid of like the cuts, like the sound of the cuts, if people are talking in the background and so like that? Do you do ADR?
It's a combination of stuff. I would recommend, there's a book called, I think, Sound for Digital Videos. Tomlinson Holman writes it. It's a good overview for how all these techniques, I'm not going to go into those techniques right now, but in general, if you're recording audio starting now, and I'm like, okay, go. Right, there's sections of audio where I'm not saying, okay, go. Take those sections and you basically put it over other sections and crossfades. Lots of crossfades, lots of recording just clean audio and using that for parts. Yeah, there's a lot of techniques for that, and they're sort of covered in a lot of these sort of sound design, sound editing.
Also now, sound, when it's on location, it's bouncing out that environment, and as people, since we've spent our entire lives, surrounded by environments, we're very acutely aware.
And not in space.
And not in space. We're aware of what things sound like. It's embarrassing. Even if you can't think of it, even if you can't define it, you know what it should sound like. And so the audio that's recorded on set in that environment is literally the best way to simulate that. There's all sorts of software trying to simulate that, but you're best off to record a couple little bits. Like if we're having someone run around with a bag of guns, and there probably wasn't good sound of that because it was a little far away. We'll sit there before we leave. We'll just take that bag of guns and shake it by the camera microphone. So it's the same microphone that we're using, same environment, and you'll get that sound. And so basically, if If you have someone clapping their hands, you're never going to find a hand clap that sounds right in that environment. So sit there and stand there and clap a few times. Get that sound effect put there. So we'll do a lot of little
roll lines with your actors. If you know it's kind of windy, you're gonna pull them off to the side, do a scene, pull them off the side, have them redo the scene with the audio there. We've had a lot of videos. The one we shot with Laatsch Jewish Group, for example, was a windy day. All of her audio from that video is her saying the lines later after the fact, after we shot it, because it was so windy. So it's really easy to just grab something and do that. You're gonna kick yourself for not getting it, right?
So
just get the sound in the environment.
Since we can't call her back to do ADR because she's only gonna come for one day, basically as soon as we finished shooting the scene, we went and ducked behind some parked cars where it was kind of sheltered from the wind, and just had her quick acted out the scene again, recorded it 2 or 3 times through, and just used that with ADR.
And you'll be surprised how accurate people are by doing, if you record ADR in the environment after you've shot the scene, people are almost dead on with the recording, even not having to hear it and replace it.
Because they just did it, their memory of it's so cute. They've just been running through it 10 times, so they can just go do it again. And in fact, you'll get closer ADR right then, often, than if you actually take them in later when it's been 2 months have gone by. They don't remember how they did it. They look at the clip and they sit there and try to match it. Yeah. And also in the environment, get all, if people are getting hit, all the efforts, vocal efforts are things like, all that stuff, just quick grab that, because these are all little bits of sound that will help you later on. And often you don't notice ADR because the lips aren't synced up. You notice it because it sounds different than the audio is surrounded by. And so by having the environment, by having that matched dead on, people are not even going to notice that it was a little bit off from the lips.
Yeah, and so also a little tiny thing that's kind of just sort of interesting with vocal efforts. Like if it's like you're dodging, getting down. A lot of times you'll record it and it'll be way over the top if you just listen to it, because it'll sound like ooh, ah, oh, ah. But once you have the music, the sounds of the gunshots going off and people running around, on top of that, you need to be over the top in order for it to even be heard, because if it was realistic, you wouldn't even hear it. So it's really interesting, actually. There was like the rolling boulder scene from Indiana Jones. We got to see once with just Harrison Ford's vocal efforts of him going, it sounds ridiculous. But once it's with everything else in there, it sounds totally normal.
Yeah, so don't worry about turning everything down and toning it down enough right away, because you have to keep in mind that when you throw in all the other ingredients, it's like if you have a pot that's just salt, it's going to be really salty, but when you add all the rest of the ingredients, it evens itself out.
Ain't so salty anymore.
Yeah.
Sorry. Do you guys have interest? Have you had offers to kind of go back into the feature film world? Are you guys interested in doing that? Interested in TV?
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
Less and less interested.
Less and less interested. Because here's what we get doing online, doing YouTube, doing online video, is we get to do our own thing, and we don't have to pay the piper, so to speak, for sort of people above us. And that's what we did before. We used to do freelance visual effects. We used to do direct-to-DVD, direct-to-TV features. And it's horrible, because just the whole time you're sitting there, it's like, really? This is really what you want? Okay, and you have to make all these changes, and you're working for someone else. This allows us to work for ourselves. And I think what's interesting, too, just sort of speaking on a larger philosophical sort of tangent, I think it's very interesting to see where online video and digital content delivery is going to be going. And I think that sort of movies and television will always have a place, but there's this cool new thing that's happening, and I would feel really dumb in 10 years if it's like we weren't part of that, and we're always trying to go back to sort of the old way of doing things. This is a new way of doing things, and I think we have a chance, everyone in this room has a chance to sort of redefine or define how that's going to go and what that looks like. I think that's a tremendous opportunity, because you don't have that. You don't have big paradigm shifts in entertainment very often. In film, and then television came out, and that was sort of the last one, right? So I think that's what's more interesting to me.
So we're much more interested in basically sticking around the online content and coming up with a way to create a long-form piece of content that can be supported by the audience, basically be able to pay for its budget, its money back. We're much more interested in coming up with that than we are to basically jump ship off YouTube and go the traditional Hollywood route, because that's not exciting.